Hey guys, and welcome back to I Like Watches. It was only a few weeks ago I bought my very first Orient Star. I have owned a number of Orient watches, most of them have been divers, but over the years I've had a lot of people say to me, you really should experience Orient Star watches. They're a different level when it comes to quality and in particular steel finishing, which is something that's quite important to me. So yeah, I went on to Chrono24 and bought a new old stock. So it was a second-hand watch, never been worn. Orient Star Open Heart Green Sunburst Dial Limited Edition, where Orient had teamed up with a prestigious saddle maker in Japan called SOMS to make some beautiful watches which featured handcrafted leather straps. It was a beautiful watch and I did upload a video on that watch, and since then I've bought my second Orient Star from Jomashop. I was looking for, well, a fairly affordable Orient Star, but looked really nice. Obviously I want it to look nice, and I settled on this silver dial blue handed automatic with a power reserve indicator at the 12, and in this video I'm going to show you what I've bought, so enjoy. That seemed to end rather abruptly, didn't it? I think I just ran out of things to say. But anyway, don't worry, I've got lots to tell you about this beautiful Orient Star watch, like the price, for example. I paid $340 US, which seems to be a good price for a beautiful Orient Star watch like this. According to the listing and the box, the original retail price should be closer to $800 US. But yeah, I'm not convinced it's worth $800 US, and I'm not convinced anyone has ever paid $800 US for this watch, but $340 seems to be a reasonable price. Now, I've stated already this is an automatic watch, and I've done some homework on the movement inside it, and yeah, I found a couple of caliber model numbers. It's either the F6N44 or the 40N52. The Jomashop website and the Orient Star website have those two model numbers, but basically it is a Seiko Epson YN85 three-handed movement with a power reserve indicator and a date complication beating at 21,600 beats per hour. It hacks and hand winds. So yeah, it's a Seiko Epson YN85. And I've put some power into this watch, put it on the time grapher, and it's running okay. Accuracy is okay, beat error is okay, and amplitude is okay. So the movement is, well, it's okay. Now, I'll tell you what's not okay, the build quality and in particular the finishing of the steel. It's actually quite a bit better than okay. The first Orient Star watch that I saw had that beautifully made handcrafted SOM leather strap. So this is the first Orient Star that I'm seeing with an all stainless steel bracelet and clasp, and I can tell you the steel finishing is really good. A marked improvement on your standard Orient watches. The links in the bracelet are individual links coming together to give that sort of brushed and polished mix. So the separation of brushed and polished links is really crisp. It's very similar to how Seiko and Grand Seiko, and I guess a lot of other brands make their bracelets. But yeah, really nicely done. I'm not saying they're the same sort of standard as your Grand Seiko bracelets, but they are very nicely finished. Lovely solid inner elements or milled inner elements to the clasp. The outer shell is pressed, but it seems nice enough. 3 micro adjusts, double pushers, nice finishing. It's signed, and yeah, the case finishing as well, really nice. So a big thumbs up. I can totally see why people have been recommending I take a look at these watches. Yeah, the finishing is nice and the dial is beautiful. It's an interesting looking watch, isn't it? It reminds me of the sort of watches my dad and my uncles, and I guess to some degree my grandparents used to wear. It's got a sort of vintage look to it, that sort of domed dial, very strong domed crystal, a little bit of distortion, but it actually looks quite clear at a tight angle, so I suspect there is some double domage there. I'll test the crystal in a minute, but yeah, really cool sort of vintage retro inspired dial, applied indices and hands. I'm not convinced by the colour of the hands, I have to say. They are definitely not heat treated and blue as a result of a heat treating process, but I guess they sort of go with the silver dial. But yeah, beautiful sunburst silver dial, very nicely applied logo, a name above the 6, and yeah, a power reserve indicator under the 12. Who doesn't love a power reserve indicator? So yeah, probably not the prettiest watch they make, but one that I was drawn to because of the way it looks. Yeah, I like it. I really do like it. Now I've whipped out a spring bar so we can have a good look at the case back and the movement, and as you can see on the steel section of the case back, it says Epson. So yeah, no hiding the fact that there is an Epson movement inside this watch. 50 meters of water resistant there. It says 5 bars, stainless steel, made in Japan, and there's some reference numbers on there as well, and a beautifully signed and decorated rotor, and the movement itself actually has some decoration on it as well. So yeah, not a bad movement to look at. Not the nicest, but not a bad movement. And you can see the links clearly, how there are some different sections that have all come together to give the watch those polished and brushed sections of the bracelet. So yeah, not a cheap bracelet construction. Solid end links there as well, look. Now before I test the crystals and give you all the dimensions, let me show you this watch on my roughly average 7¼ inch-ish wrist, and it really does remind me of the sort of watches my uncles and my grandparents used to wear. Yeah, really strong sort of vintage look to this watch. But a beautiful watch, nice slender lugs. There are a few similar looking watches on Jomashop, but this for me was the pick of the bunch. I do like a silver sunburst dial. And yeah, I like the more sort of dressy, slender lugs on this one. There are some similar watches that have similar sort of K shapes to your SNKL23 Seikos. But yeah, I liked the K shape of this one, and the bracelet, beautiful. Right, let me run through some dimensions. Case diameter is 38.5, thickness is 13, lug to lug is 44.4, 20mm lugs tapering down to just over 17.5 and back up to 19.5 at the clasp. On the supplied strap and set up for my 7¼ inch-ish wrist, it now weighs, oh nice, 111 grams. Now let's test the crystals. Oh, no sapphire crystal at the front. Well, it's worth a try, wasn't it? Well, I've got to say I'm a little bit disappointed about that. No sapphire crystal at all, so that is a bit of a shame. But there are a few other weaknesses. Unfortunately, the outer shell does seem to be fairly thin. It's obviously pressed. The inner elements are milled, and they seem really, really nice. But yeah, the outer shell is a little bit cheap feeling. I'm not wild about the colour of the hands either. They are, well, very, very bright blue in certain conditions. So yeah, if they're trying to pass these off as sort of heat treated blued hands, yeah, they're definitely not. 50 meters of water resistance. Maybe I'm being a little bit tough, but you do have a screw down case back, so yeah, I'm sure this watch could be capable very easily of 100 meters of water resistance. So yeah, a 50-meter rating is a little bit disappointing. And the movement inside this watch, it seems to be, apart from the power reserve indicator, a fairly standard 3-handed automatic movement with a date complication. It hacks, it hand winds, yes, as does the YN55A. But it beats at 21,600 beats per hour as well. So yeah, list price of $800 for this watch. With that movement inside it, yeah, I don't think so. I think this watch at the moment on Jomashop is where it needs to be. It is a beautifully finished watch. It looks fantastic. The bracelet really is very, very nice, and the steel finishing on the case is lovely, but I certainly wouldn't pay any more than I've already paid for this watch. So yeah, lovely watch. Not at all disappointed, to be honest. Yeah, very pleasantly surprised with the steel finishing, which is what people have been telling me about these watches, and it's the reason why I've been wanting to pick one up. Yeah, and I will definitely pick up more to show on the channels. But guys, let me know what you think in the comments section. Do you agree with my list of weaknesses? There's not too many, but a few minor ones in there. And yeah, let me know what you think of this watch. All right, guys, as always, massive thank you from me to you. I really appreciate it. Please take care, guys. Look after yourselves. You'll see me again very, very soon.